like that.
Yeah, get up like that. Ooh, yeah, I stood in the shade this time. Oh, I would much rather.
Testing. Good evening, everyone. I'm Karen Cole. I'm the counseling director here at Mechanicsville High School, and we're so happy that you've come out to be in person with us for College Jumpstart. We've been virtual for a couple of years, and we're so excited tonight that we can hold an in-person event this year. So thank you for coming. I know we invited some of our friends from Hanover High, Atlee, and Patrick Henry. Are any of you guys here? Anybody from? Okay, good. Thank you for coming. So we have 5 panelists with us tonight from across the state. They're going to share a lot of information with us about the college application process and how to get ready. And Ms. Bolander is going to introduce them. So I'm going to hand it over to her.
We are super excited that you're here. Thank you very, very much. And we're super excited that y'all are here as well for one of our first in-person events. And if you're watching live, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to make sure that I get this correct. So we're going to start from that side. This is from Virginia Tech, Steve Milley. And then from JMU, Chris Gothard. UVA, Macy Lennox. Longwood, Nathan Gowdy. And Reynolds, Jessica Anderson. So we are really happy to have you here, and I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Toombs, who's going to start the questions. Very back and forth, ask questions. We want to know what you want to know about. They know a lot of things, and they're going to share with us the things that we think you might want to know. But if you have specific questions, please don't be shy. Please feel free to ask, because you're not only helping yourselves, I'm sure you're asking a question that someone else around you has as well. Hello, everyone. I don't even know if I need this microphone, but I will use it because it's here. I'm Ms. Toombs. Thank you guys all for coming. I guess we're just going to dive right into these questions. Thank you guys all for coming too, because I know you come from all different places from around the state. So the first sort of group of questions are going to be all aimed at the 4-year universities, and then we're going to kind of wrap up with some 2-year Reynolds questions, if that's okay. So first question, what is the best way to prepare for college during the end of junior year or beginning of senior year? And what kind of schedule or classes do you want to see on a student's transcript for their senior year? So basically, how to prepare end of junior year, beginning of senior year.
Well, I guess I'm the break soul who's going to start. So what we look for at Longwood, through your 9th through 11th grade year, we want to see a couple different things. We want to see if you guys are doing any kind of classes that push the limits for you guys, maybe AP, IB, dual enrollment, those kinds of things. We want to see those in your transcripts. We also want to see if you are doing somewhat what you want to do as a major as well. We want to see if you're interested, let's say, in engineering. We have a partnership with UVA in our engineering program. But if you want to do an engineering, we want to see physics. We want to see some of those higher math classes, those kinds of things. And if you're involved as well, we want to see kind of the clubs and the organizations work. If you are a part-time worker, we want to see those kinds of things as well. So just be involved in your high school, and along with kind of pushing yourself in your classes.
Yeah, and I know junior year is a hard year. All right, let's just put it out there, right? It's a hard year. And I think the tendency when you start thinking about senior classes is maybe I'll just take a little bit of a break. But I would urge you against that, those inclinations, because senior program can matter. And, you know, I think the way we look at it is, well, we're going to get you the next year. And we want you to be prepared for the rigors of a college curriculum. So when we're looking at classes, we're looking at your academic core. So English, math, social science, lab science, foreign language, right? And across the core, we want to see challenge. We want to see that, you know, within the context of what's offered within your environment, we want to see that you've challenged yourself. I also encourage you, you know, this is the time you should take a break this summer, first of all. You should absolutely take a break after junior year. But remember that the more you do to front load the application process during the summer, the more you will be free in your senior year to have a little bit more time for your studies and for the many, many obligations that come with being a senior. So maybe take some time to look at the Common App essays, for instance. If you're going to apply to a school, and probably many of you are, that is a Common App school, look at the essay prompts and maybe start thinking about that while your brain is still working. I get summer brain. I don't know about y'all, but it's absolutely a thing for me. So while the gears are still turning at high motion, maybe start putting some thoughts down as you think about your essay. And during the summer, think about the schools to which you're going to apply and maybe think about some supplemental essays as well. The Common App goes live August 1. So you can start and get a really good head start on the Common App during the summer, which, trust me, the application deadlines in the fall, if you're looking at those, come quickly, especially given the many things going on in senior year. So definitely I encourage you to think about getting some things done during the summer, front loading some of the information to make senior year a little bit more fun.
I would very much echo what my colleagues up here have said. Senior year classes are very, very important. Don't stop at that third year of foreign language. If you know that that's an area of strength, take that fourth year of Spanish, of French, of another language. Don't stop at Algebra 2 in your mathematics sequence. Take that pre-calculus, that statistics, that trigonometry. Lab science, take that physics, take that college level lab science. At JMU, we admitted to the university as a whole, which is a little bit different than some of the other schools in the state. So we are not looking for different things between students looking at a variety of majors within the university. We want all students to have all of those core areas covered, as my colleague from UVA said, but also show proficiency in all of those areas. You will do a gen ed program at most all of our schools, which span across all different disciplines. And so we certainly want to see you challenging yourself, pushing yourself, and being successful in those areas. What I recommend for juniors as we're at this point in the process, identify a strong 5. That's what I like to call it. 5 schools that you plan to apply to. A reach school, a safety school, schools where you see yourself, schools that you can really picture yourself attending come fall, the subsequent, 2 years. So certainly start thinking through what are those schools. Get on campus if you can. Most all of the schools, at least in the state, are back open for visits, both in person and a lot of us have virtual opportunities if getting to campus is going to be a struggle for you. So get on campus, get a feel for the atmosphere, talk to current students, talk to your admissions counselor, learn the process. Everybody is a little bit different in how we conduct our admissions process, but we are all here to help you. And the more work that you do now, the easier it'll be come the fall when everything is in full gear.
I can pretty much say ditto from my colleagues here about the academic preparation. So I'm going to take it a little bit of a different direction and give you a couple of pieces of advice. Of those schools that you narrow it down to, make sure that you visit all of those schools before you actually have to make that commitment to the college or university. Take notes when you're visiting those schools. And when you're visiting them, they're all going to start to run together, and you're going to forget which one had this feature, which one had that. So take notes while you're there. And then the other really big piece of advice I want to give you is to develop an email address just for those college applications. All of us are going to send you tons of emails. And because we send out so many emails, a lot of servers send our emails right to your spam folder. And if you have them all together in one email and that's all you use it for, you're going to be able to find those emails a lot easier. So that's all the advice I want to give you on that right now.
Awesome, thank you guys. One question that we get, and Hanover County students can choose if they want IB, AP, it's sort of like there's not a set IB program, they can kind of do things a la carte-ish. And so one of the questions we get as school counselors all the time is, what's preferred by colleges when you see on their transcripts? AP, IB, dual enrollment courses, do you view them differently? We just kind of want that information every year.
Well, very quickly for us, we want to see that you challenge yourself, and we consider challenging whatever your school considers challenging. If they offer AB, we want to see, IB, we want to see some IB. AP, we want to see some. Dual enrollment. I know some people are able to take the AP class and either get dual enrollment or AP test credit. Your dual enrollment, you're getting automatic credit with the college transcript. So it's going to be a personal decision. We don't care, just challenge yourself in some areas. Now, we are very major specific, so you do have to take the most challenging curriculum for certain areas. Like engineering, you do have to have the most challenging math and science curriculum. If you have those dual enrollment courses, that satisfies that area just as well as an IB course or an AP course.
At JMU, we consider all three of those kind of classes as college level classes. And so in the admissions process, we do not differentiate between IB, AP, or dual enrollment. And as Steve was saying, the difference will be when you're trying to get credit for those classes at JMU. So if you have a C or better in a dual enrollment class that's transferable, you get that credit. For AP and IB, it depends on your examination score. Typically a 4 or 5 at JMU will get you credit for that class, but your 3 or 4 hours on that AP exam will dictate whether you get credit for that class as opposed to a full semester of coursework. And so be mindful of that as you're making that decision. How am I going to get credit for this at the institution as well?
Yes, like both Tech and JMU, we look at the context within your school. So it's not about us saying, we rank order, IB, AP, dual enrollment for everyone in our process. We look at the school and how the school weights and how the school preferences the classes. And I would say, what does your school consider to be the most demanding program that's available? And we want to see the most demanding program that's available. And I'd say for most schools, that's going to be AP or IB, but some will consider dual enrollment right at that same level. And if the school, specifies that it's at that level, then we will consider it at that level as well. I would say what I want you to be concerned with is that honoring the core. English, math, social science, foreign language, lab science. So some people will be like, well, I've got, lots of AP classes, but they might all fall in a social science. So we want to see kind of the strength across the academic core when we're looking at records. So it's not just, a number, an N that we're looking at. It's going to be the strength across the core that's going to matter for us.
So at Longwood, we do the same as my colleagues have said, but we want you guys to challenge yourself, but not push yourself so hard that you're going to start failing. We want you guys to be successful. So whether that be advanced or honors courses, we want you guys to look at those, or if it be the IB, the dual enrollment, the AP classes, we want you to push it there. We're not gonna make you, push yourself to the limit where you're doing C's and D's your junior or senior year. We want you to be successful. So if you're getting A's and just regular advanced courses, stick with that. If you think IB and AP are gonna push you too hard, we don't want you to fail. So if you're doing AP physics and you got a D- in it, you can always come back and do senior year and just do a regular science course and just kind of make up for the fact, or just do it again. You can always do summer classes. There's no shame in it. I did summer courses when I was in high school. So, I struggled, but, I'm sure there's opportunities for you guys. We just want you to be able to make sure that you're comfortable and that you're successful.
Okay, so what we're hearing is that you really can't go wrong as long as you're working hard and you're challenging yourself with rigorous courses, the most rigorous that you can handle, right? Make A's and B's in them. So the next question is, what should students look for when choosing a college that is a good fit for them? We always talk about the fit. What should they be looking for?
So what I always recommend for students is to make a pros and cons list. Go and visit the schools, like Steve said. Go and visit schools and get involved with those emails as well. And then from there, make a pros and cons list on what you want. So do you want a big school? Do you want a small school? Do you want really good dining hall food, or not so much? You know, that's not like an important thing for you. Do you want parking on campus? Can you have a car? You know, those kinds of things. What majors are you looking for? What opportunities are you looking for within the university? And then make that pros and cons list from there. Well, you know, this school has A, B, C, D, but this one has, E, F, G, H, I, you know, those kinds of things. That's what I always recommend for students. And I'm sure my colleagues would agree on that. But I want to pass it on to Mary for more info.
So, you know, I've had two children go through the college process now, and you know, we always start with where do you envision yourself? You know, for some people that might be just something you want to envision in your head. For others, you know, I bet your parents still have your crayon list and a piece of paper. Draw it out. Like, what does it look like? You know, is it in this, as you said, is it in the city, or is it in the country? Is it, you know, large, or is it small? What does it offer? What do you see yourself doing? What do you see yourself being involved with? So start small. Start with those questions. And then when you visit, revert back to that and think about, you know, okay, has that vision changed? Or has it stayed the same? Where have I made some tweaks here and there? I'm also, my children would tell you, maybe to a fault, a bit of a data-driven person. I like to know the data. And I think in this regard, rankings aren't it. And it's not what I'm talking about, is rankings. What I'm really talking about are things like graduation rates, freshman retention rates, faculty-student ratios, percent of first years that live on grounds versus that live off grounds, percent of students who do research or study abroad. So that's information you can typically find by going on schools' websites and attending information sessions and attending virtual information sessions. And I think, you know, what my kids and I did was we created a Google Doc, you know, that we could both look at and access and add things when we visited or did, and that might seem, y'all are probably like, wow, she really is a little crazy. You can agree with my children there. But that is how we would organize it. And then once the list was narrowed, there was additional information there about, you know, okay, what are the different deadlines that the school offers? Do they offer early decision or do they not offer early decision? What does early action look like within the context of this school? What do they require as a part of the application? Do they require recommendations or not? Do they require essays or not? Do they have supplemental essays or not? Are they a Common App school or are they not a Common App school? And so that way, once you hit that crazy period of, oh my gosh, you know, it's almost time to apply, you have it all there. You know exactly what you're going to need to submit to all of the schools, and you can kind of feel comfortable in having it there. I will say, and this is kind of separate from this question, but if you have a deadline of November 1, that students who are trying to achieve, include that, but also include your deadline. You should have your own deadline for the application that should be about 2 weeks prior, right? So that you submit in advance so that you can avoid any of the crises that might happen before the application deadline, whether it is a submission problem, losing electricity on your end, a hurricane. I mean, y'all, the things that we have seen, you know, family issue, whatever, have that deadline 2 weeks in advance, and trust me, at the end of the day, you will be calmer and you will have bragging rights from all your friends who are still stressed out and trying to get that application in. So, right? Okay, so that would be my advice.
I very much agree with what has already been said. Find those things that are important to you. I always encourage folks to look at it through 3 different lenses. First, the academic fit. Does this school have my program of study? Does this school have pathways for me to get to my career goals that I have for myself? The second part would be social fit. Does this school have the extracurricular activities I'm looking for? Can I picture myself living in this community? And then the third, financial fit. That's also very important, is can I make this cost of attendance work for me and for my family so that it's doable, so that it's attainable. So we're not going through the whole admissions process just to get to the end and say that's out of reach. So I really encourage everybody to look at those three aspects of each school as you're making your list, as you're going through the process, and keep a calendar. Very much agree with that.
First, I just want to echo Macy's guidance about having your own deadline, because, like she stated, poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on ours. So do plan early or further ahead. The only other things, and they kind of mentioned that, is just taking an honest self-assessment when you are looking for schools. If you know that you want to be in an urban area, Virginia Tech's probably not the best place for you. Just be very honest. Don't pick it because of just the ranking. Don't pick it because your best friend is going there. Be very honest with yourself when you are narrowing down those college choices and what you want and where you see yourself for the next 4 years.
I think this is a pretty good sort of segue to get Ms. Anderson to answer a question here, because I kind of want to know, when is a community college the right fit for students? Might be a great way to work you in right there.
Thank you, Ms. Toombs. I'm taking notes up here. Good evening, everyone, and definitely a yes, 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 and yes to all of the wisdom that has been shared. So when we're talking about fit, you all, it really boils down to what is most reasonable for your family. And so I'd like to add to what has already been shared by simply just reminding you all as students to have very honest conversations with your families. Families, parents, guardians, have very honest conversations with your students. Being able to be very clear about what you're looking for, what you're willing to be flexible about, and what you're not willing to be flexible about can make a very big difference. And I know as parents, we want the best for our students. We want them to be happy. And in most cases, that happiness equates to a 4-year degree at a 4-year institution. So the plug, of course, for Reynolds there is to keep in mind that a community college, sometimes at the end of the day, after you have that very honest conversation, you realize, I'm not ready for you to leave home. Or for the student, I'm not ready to leave home. I still want that bachelor's degree. I still want that degree or that 4-year experience from that 4-year institution, like these 4 on the stage. But if it's not time, and realize that everybody's path is going to be a little bit different, the community college can offer you that experience where you can still achieve that 4-year degree just a little bit differently. You start with your 2 years at Reynolds, and then you transfer. So you get a little bit of both worlds. But again, the honest conversation about what's going to work for you and your family.
Thank you. All right, so sort of back in the 4-year mode, but what do you want to see in an admissions essay? The dreaded essay. Talk for a minute about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, we have a very holistic approach to the essay. So for Longwood, we as admissions counselors read each and every single one of your applications that comes in. And for me, I like to see, and I encourage this for everyone to write an essay. It's not a requirement, but we do want to see personality. We want to see who you are as a student, who you want to be in the future. You can write about anything, to be honest. I wrote about how I wanted to be an animator. My friend wrote about Star Wars. You know, they're 2 totally different ways of writing it right there in that example. However, you know, you can write about anything. I've had people submit the AP essays that they were working on. You know, I've had people talk about traumatic experiences, something that helped them grow up, you know, a memory that they might have had. So for the essay, we as Longwood want to see personal, you know, you as a student, you as a person. We value you as a person, so we want to get to know you without putting a face to the name quite yet. You know.
Yes. You know, I just looked at my watch because I'm like, how much time do we have? We could talk about the essay, y'all, for a long time. And I'll just say to the counselors, we always do essay workshops at high school. So if y'all ever want someone to come in and do a workshop, we got you.
Good to
It's
know.
one of our favorite things to read, and it's one of our favorite things to talk about. Get a lot of questions about test scores, which I'm sure we're going to get to, right? And grades. But not
Another
many people
much needed
ask us
question.
what type of person we're looking for, right? And that's a really important question when you're talking about our institutions, all of which have communities and are looking to build our communities around the people we're bringing in, right? So when you're thinking about the essay, a few things. Know that it's not topic that rules the day, all right? So many people get hung up on finding the perfect golden ticket topic, but I can tell you right now that doesn't exist, just as Nathan said, right? There is not one perfect thing we're looking for. It can be something about, riding in the car is a perfectly fine essay topic as long as it's reflective and tells us something about you. The value of an essay is what it tells me about you. We don't have an interview as a part of my process, so this is the one time when I'll really get to know you. The second thing I would say is your essay cannot begin with, I was born on a snowy day in February, and end with, as I sit here typing right now, right? We do not have time for the life story, the entire life story. Or even if you want to write about, maybe you're passionate about being involved with theater, or maybe you're passionate about baking, you still can't tell us every single thing about that, right? So be centered in your topic. Sometimes we'll see essays trying to put in too much, and you're not going to be able to tell us everything about you, okay? So try to center it on one thing about you. And in that regard, my last piece of advice would be to make sure you stay in your lane, all right? Don't try to write an essay that you think we want to hear. Write an essay that's true to you, right? That tells us about you. So if you're looking for an exercise just to kind of shake the dust off in the middle of the summer or to get started, I recommend starting with the Common App essay prompts. And you could have a parent or a friend get a piece of paper out, have a parent or friend read the prompts to you, and give you 30 seconds after they read the prompt to write the first thing that comes to mind, right? And then afterwards, reflect on what you wrote. There's probably going to be some prompts that you don't write anything because you couldn't think of anything fast enough. There are other prompts where the time ended and you're still trying to write because you have so much to say. So reflect on that. Maybe that area is where you want to go with your essay, right? So that's just, again, it's not about topics, so don't get so hung up on it. Just make sure it's true to you and tells us something about you.
At JMU, we have an optional personal statement. So that's going to be the college essay portion of our application. It is not required. That being said, if you do plan to use that space, I'll give you 2 pieces of advice and then a moment on what not to do. So for JMU, we're very much interested in your academic performance. If there's some context that explains anything on your transcript that might be a red flag, that might raise some questions with your admissions counselor or the admissions committee, I encourage you to use that space to provide that context. We don't know what you don't share. And so if there was something going on outside of the classroom, some family situation, or something more broad than that, we encourage you to share that so that we can take that into account and certainly fairly evaluate your application. The other advice I would give you is to make it individualized. If you can replace your name with somebody else in this room, probably not quite it. We see a lot of essays that are very much the same. I tore my ACL and had this great rehab, and I am now ready to take on the next adversity that comes my way. DECA has been a wonderful experience for me. Everybody has their couple that you see numerous times in a cycle. So I encourage you to be original, to share some things with us that we might not know just by reading the rest of your file, and be sure that you're showing your individuality in that essay response. What not to do: don't give us your resume, don't give us your extracurricular activities or your honors and achievement, because we have sections on the application for you to provide that. We see a lot of students do the same thing in several different sections, and that's not the best use of that space. At JMU, since it is an optional component, there's no need to provide that a second time. You can leave that personal statement space blank if you have nothing to add. But if you are going to use that space, we certainly encourage you to make it valuable, to make it helpful for the admissions committee so that we get to know you better and so that we have that full picture and have all of the context that might be present.
We do not require essays either. And we are a Common App school, but we don't even look at that essay if you submit it to Virginia Tech. We do have 4 questions we ask you that are very important. They're actually looked at by at least 2 people on campus, and they're scored. And the questions are getting at very specific things. They're asking about your leadership experiences and or positions, how you handle adversity, your long-term goals, things like that. You only have 120 words for each question, so do spend some time on those questions if you're applying to Virginia Tech. But as somebody who's been in admissions for a while, and I have worked at schools that do look at the essays, I just want to give you a couple more pointers because you're going to be writing a lot of essays. Please hit spell check before you submit it. That I know it sounds silly, but you would be amazed at how many people don't do it. But you also have to read over it carefully because it might be a real word but not belong in that sentence or another form of that word. Getting somebody else to look over it helps tremendously because your eyes play tricks on you. When you're that close to it, you just gloss over certain things sometimes. So send the right essay to the right school. Don't send an essay that starts out, it's my lifelong desire to go to UVA to James Madison. They don't want to see that. All right? They're probably not going to punish you for that, but they get tired of seeing that after a while. So.
Definitely not Virginia Tech.
I'm sorry?
Definitely not Virginia Tech.
Definitely not Virginia Tech. And other thing, if you're not naturally funny, that's not the time to try your attempt at humor in the college essay. So just do spend some time on it. Make sure the school either requires it if you are going to submit it, because like I said, we don't require it at all, and you're just wasting your time submitting one for us.
Okay, thank you. This is sort of a 2-part question, and the first part applies more for the 4-year, but the second question can apply to all of you. So how important is it to join clubs or participate in extracurricular activities during high school to make you stand out to colleges? And then also, how do you become involved in clubs and or other extracurricular activities once in college? So, and I can repeat any of that.
It's very important. We want to see that you're involved. Your education is a lot more than just the classroom. We want to see you getting involved outside of the classroom. But we also want to know about things that you're involved in outside of school. A lot of you are much more active once you leave school. You might have a part-time job, and if you work a lot of part-time hours, we consider that extracurricular. Giving back to the community is a big characteristic of the Virginia Tech student. We'd like to see if you're giving back in any way. Very active in your church. We look at all of those things. Once you get to Virginia Tech, your very first full weekend, when you're a freshman, all of the clubs and organizations, there are over 900 different clubs and organizations, set up a table on the drill field, and you just can go through and see what we have to offer, see if there's anything you're interested in. And if you don't find anything that you are interested in, you can create your own. All it takes is you, another like-minded student, a faculty advisor. You can have any recognized student organization you want. One of my favorite ones I've seen over the years, Students Against Winter, was an actual recognized student organization. So you can literally have anything you want.
In Blacksburg.
So for JMU, extracurricular activities are secondary to your academic performance. So they're not going to be a weighted consideration in our admissions process. We're looking at the rigor of your course curriculum and your grades in your core classes. That's where the admissions decision is made. That being said, we hope that you're an involved student, and we see a lot of our students at JMU carry heavy involvements and be very much engaged in the university community. And so we know that students cannot be involved in the JMU community if they're not academically prepared to remain at JMU. And so that's why our focus is on the academic preparation as the first and foremost consideration, and then that the involvement piece is very important, but not something that's going to be taken into account in our admissions process. Very much like Virginia Tech, JMU does offer a student organization night at the start of both the fall and the spring semester. You can start your own organization as well. We have a great website. We're actually transitioning websites. So the new one is campusgroups.org, and you can find that on our activity and involvement page. But you can see the full list of what is currently available. And so even at this point, when you're looking at that social fit, do you have my extracurricular activities? you can see a lot of what's available at all of our institutions online. And so I encourage you to take a look at that and kind of gauge what is life like outside of class at this institution. Do I have those things that I'm passionate about that are already created, or am I going to go in guns blazing and ready to start a new organization right from the outset in my time at that college or university?
Yeah, so the one thing I would highlight, I agree that, for us, we want to see involvement, right? But it's not about the quantity of activities that you're involved in high school. It's really about the quality. And by that I mean it's about contribution, it's about impact, it's about things you do productively outside of the classroom, whatever that may be it work, be it home responsibilities, be it community-based activities or school-based activities. A few years ago, the Common App actually decreased the number of lines in the extracurricular section. And they did that to kind of send a message. There is this tendency, particularly from, the extra credit students, and I'm not going to point fingers or anything, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Like, okay, there's a line, I'm going to fill it, right? And what the Common App was trying to convey was it's not about filling every line. It's really about doing some things that you love and making an impact in them. So think about the things that you're most passionate about, right? The most important activities that are the most important to you should be at the top of your list on the extracurricular form, right? Make sure you convey that impact. And for some people that might be a leadership position, for some it might be using an action verb and describing what you did with the organization. I, served this many students or this many homeless people breakfast, or I started this particular part of the leadership program, or whatever it is. If there's something you need to convey that kind of tells us about your impact, then do that, right? But don't feel like you have to fill every line. It's not about that. It's just about making a contribution where you sit, doing something productive with your time outside of the classroom.
So everyone here has brought up some extremely good points. I know in high school that I was extremely involved. I know that it might seem really, really important to you, and sometimes your grades might slip, but we want you guys to have those good grades while being involved. That is highly important. Your grades are way more important than the clubs or organizations you're part of. Even if you're a student athlete, we want you to do well in your classes and do well in your sports. But as a whole, we don't take it into consideration, but we do see what you're involved in, how you're involved, if you're the president of something, if you hold an exec position, if you're in student council, those kind of things. If you're involved within your school community, just as a whole, if you're involved with volunteering, if you're involved with just, working on the weekends or something like that. I held 2 jobs in high school, so that was something that was taken into consideration when I was applying. I heard 900 clubs and organizations from Tech, and I thought my 200 was impressive. We do very similar things. For the first week I was at Longwood, I joined the campus radio station. And I bet you most people in this room does not listen to radio anymore. But it was something that I found really, really interesting and really, really, really important to me. So I've always been told I had a face for radio, and I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I did 4 years of broadcasting. So, but that was an opportunity I got to do, and it led me to other opportunities. So that first club at college could lead you into a career, I was also the school mascot for 3 years, and that from broadcasting and went to athletics, and then athletics into the mascot, and then from athletics, I also got to meet fraternity brothers. So I got to do a bunch of different things, and it started to become this branch and this tree. And honestly, we want to see you grow. So if that means growing here in high school and creating those avenues for yourself to get into college, that's fantastic. We want to see it in your resumes, like we've said before, in your personal statements, like we've said before. So we want to see those kinds of achievements and those kinds of opportunities in your collegiate career as well.
Sorry, I forgot the second part. I forgot to answer the second part of the question. Sorry about that. Yes, we like Tech have over 900 student organizations on ground. There's a lot going on. Sorry. Well, we're also bigger. We're just bigger. That's what it is. We got more students. Right? We have more students. I think 200 is great for Longwood. I think that's awesome. But we have more students. So we also have activities fair. It's the day before the first day of classes. It's a thing. It's a very big deal on grounds. It's on the lawn and also on the Peabody lawn, which is right in front of the Office of Admissions. So it's definitely a fun time, and we encourage you to just sign your name. You don't have to be involved. If you don't like the organization after the first week, you can unsubscribe and find your place at UVA. And with over 900, we could be here all night talking about all of the organizations that are available. But you may know so we're officially the Virginia Cavaliers, but our nickname we're called the Wahoos. So if you go to our student activities page at UVA, that's what it's called, just the @ UVA, you'll see the list. And if you just search Who's, you'll get a really good cross-section of some of the different organizations that are offered, because people like to use Who's for a lot of things. You go to our baseball games these days, which we're doing really well in baseball. You'll hear a lot of Go Who's or Wahoo Wah happening around. But we have, just as an example, we have the Hullabahoots, which is one of our we have over 30 acapella groups on grounds, and they were actually featured in the first Pitch Perfect movie. So any Pitch Perfect fans out there, go see if you can find them. We have Who's Flying, which is our aero design team at UVA. We have Who's First, which is an organization for and in support of our students who are the first in their families to go to college. We have Chutzpah, which is Eastern Indian dance team there. So just look at Who's, and we have Who's for Memory. That's for Alzheimer's, supports research and fundraising for Alzheimer's study. Just go and you'll see a lot of organizations. It's a great cross-section of what we offer.
This never happened, so I have to point it out. I think our baseball team is doing better this year.
But I believe we beat y'all on Saturday night. But y'all beat us on Friday night. I didn't see what happened on Sunday. But yes, it's true. It's true.
Getting a little hot in here.
There's no rivalry. We're friends. We're friends all the time. But just not on the athletic field. That's what makes it fun.
So Ms. Anderson's gonna talk about what you can get involved in at the community college level also.
Well, first I'm going to add to that, go Hokies. Okay, so 900, I think I heard 200, 80 plus. So I'll answer this question very briefly from the Reynolds perspective, and also just a little personal note in there. So yeah, about 85 clubs is what you'll find at Reynolds, and I think it's important for you all to realize, because a lot of people do not think about being able to be active at a community college. We are going to offer a student life. We have a student life space. We have activities throughout the year. We travel. We go to different events throughout the state, up to DC. We go skiing, basketball games, and just as with the four-year schools, at the beginning of the school year, we'll set tables up in the quad. We'll have music, we'll have food, and opportunities for you to get to learn more about our student life. And one of the benefits that I think about at the community college is that, of course, we are smaller. So that means our clubs are smaller, which means more leadership opportunities. And so being able to further expand what you may have already been involved in Hanover County, or what you have been thinking about being involved in, there's some great opportunities on the community college level. On a personal note, so I went to Virginia Tech, had an awesome experience, very involved in high school, and was able to carry in my desire to serve at Virginia Tech. And I want to leave you guys with a word: networking. So when you think about clubs and activities, whether it's sports, whether it's church, whatever it may be, whatever you are involved in now, but then also whatever you decide to be involved in college, those things are great. They're the complete opposite of being in class, right? So it's tapping into that other side of your brain and actually helps you perform better in the classroom. But they are also key networking opportunities. So whether it is your field mates, your debate team members, your coach, whoever it may be, all of these people that you're spending this time with are becoming a part of your network. So it's talking about your goals, your dreams, your career aspirations, because you never know. And one of the most fantastic things about my time at Tech is that everything that I was involved in, not only am I still able to remain in communication with those folks today, but I can honestly say that they helped to catapult me to where I am and being able to be in the career that I want to be in and to love what I do and just feel a stronger piece of the Hokie family, but then also a stronger piece of what it means to be involved outside of the academic classroom. So network, network, network.
All right, thank you guys. So the next question is about testing. And so basically it's going to be like if your answer is this, then answer like that kind of thing, because I know you're all going to possibly have different answers, but is your school still test optional for the class of 2023? If so, is there a benefit to taking the SAT or ACT if it's optional? And then also if you're not test optional, how important is the SAT or ACT on their applications?
Yeah, absolutely. So for Longwood, for the class of 23, or really for the class of, I guess, would be 27 after 4 years, graduating high school class of 23. It is test optional at Longwood. What I would recommend, if you do want to push yourself, take those ACT and SAT tests. We do like to see them if you have them. If not, that's okay. If you are looking to go into nursing, however, in at Longwood, we do make it highly recommended. That way, you can stand out above other students if you'd like to do that in nursing. You know, Longwood nursing may not be as good as UVA nursing, but it is still something that we look for in the nursing program. But just as a regular admissions, it doesn't hurt or really help, but we do like seeing it to know that you put that extra step forward into your process, into where you want to be and where you want to go and how hard you've worked to get there.
So we are test optional for next year. For the 2022-23 application cycle, UVA will be test optional, and after that point, we are going to reassess, look at the data, and make a decision as we move forward. So what that means for us is if you submit testing, we will consider it as a part of our process. If you do not submit testing, you will be penalized in no way. And we will basically make our decision based upon the merits of the other information you provide to us. All right, so what that means is, and what I like about test optional, is it actually puts you in the driver's seat to be able to put your best academic foot forward. So if you are a good test taker, if you take them once and have done well on the tests, and you decide to, maybe take them again and see how you do, and you look at UVA's testing averages, look at our mid 50%, and you think, well, yep, I'm right in there, that looks good. And you feel that those tests confirm or advance your academic picture, submit them. If you feel like the tests are not an accurate representation of your academic transcript, your academic ability, don't submit them. And don't lose 1 hour of sleep over that decision. It will not penalize you in any way in our process.
So at JMU, we went test optional back in 2017. So pre-pandemic, we have no plans to return SAT or ACT scores to being a required part of our application. Now, every school defines test optional a little bit differently, and the test optional policy covers different parts of all of the application process for various things. So at JMU, we are test optional when it comes to the admissions process into the university for merit scholarships and for admission into the Honors College. So truly test optional. In fact, if a student submits test scores, that's not going to flip the decision one way or another, 1,600 or 1,800, or 1,600 or 800. So know that that's not going to weigh us one way or another. Back to what I mentioned a little bit earlier when we were talking about dual enrollment or advanced placement, 3 years versus 3 hours. We know that the best indicator of academic success and potential at JMU is your high school transcript and your academic record. And so those standardized test scores are not going to be weighted in our process. In fact, I've been in the admissions office, just completed my 3rd cycle. Only 2 students have SAT scores been factored into their decision. one student went to 6 different high schools in 3 years, and the math sequence was off base, and so we were trying to confirm that math was not an issue for that student, and another student was an international applicant who had some other factors in play with that math sequence. And so again, we were just looking to see, does the student have the potential to be successful in that area? So 800 or 1600 doesn't matter, no need to submit SAT or ACT scores to junior year.
We have been test optional during COVID, but for you juniors, unfortunately, they have not determined yet whether we're going to be remain test optional or not. They are voting in June, so you can check back with us then to see if we're still going to be test optional for you juniors. With that said, we are a lot like the other schools. We're truly test optional. If you do not submit one, it's not going to hurt you in any way for any major, for any scholarship opportunity at all. If you do submit them and we're optional, it will be used in the admissions process. And we've always been somewhat, our test scores have always been somewhat secondary for us anyway. The more competitive majors generally have a higher score to be more competitive, like a higher math for the engineering student. So just know that it can, if we are going to be test optional, it can be used. But if you mark, I do not want it reviewed, it's not going to hurt you in any way at all.
All right, thank you guys. So this question is really more geared toward Ms. Anderson. We're gonna try to wrap things up in the next 10 minutes or so, and then go to a Q&A session for you guys. But basically, I want you to talk about the guaranteed transfer program. Do students need to know where they're gonna transfer right away when they come to community college? And then also, how do they ensure that their credits are gonna transfer to the 4-year?
It's our hidden gem. I really hope that someone in this room had heard about guaranteed transfer before you guys came in tonight, but actually I'd be totally excited if I'm the first person to explain this process to you. It is a 2+2. So how I was saying earlier, being able to start at Reynolds, start at any community college. So keep in mind, there's 23 community colleges in Virginia. Reynolds is the closest for all of you, but then there's also that other school south of the river, starts with a J. We won't mention it, but there are 23 community colleges, and they all offer this guaranteed transfer. And so what that means is that you do have a 4-year school in mind. It helps for you to know which school or schools you have in mind that are a good fit for you based off of your research and your very careful data collection and Google spreadsheet. So you come to the table, you apply to Reynolds December 1st to be eligible for scholarships, and after you apply, you are going to meet with one of our academic advisors. So this is during your senior year, and you have that conversation that is a reflection of what you think you might want to do. And it's okay if you're not too sure. So think about something as general studies, associate's degree, which can pretty much lead into any 4-year institution, or something as specific as mechanical engineering that can lead into a specific 4-year institution. So you come to the table with your major in mind and the school, the 4-year school that has that particular field of interest. Because what we want to do, the way that it's able to be guaranteed, is that you literally take what is equivalent to your freshman and sophomore year of college at the 4-year institution at Reynolds. You take the same exact equivalency in courses, do well of course, and then you are guaranteed admission to that 4-year school. So if it is Tech, if it is VCU, if it is Longwood, we have agreements with the colleges, and so we tell you the courses based off of that institution. So hence why it's important to know, okay, I want to transfer to Longwood, because then we'll put the two requirements side by side to make sure that your classes at Reynolds will match up during those 2 years at Reynolds, so that you can transfer in as a junior. It is important to remember that you are juniors, you are young people. Parents, this is my reminder to you, where it's okay to change your minds. It's okay to get halfway through those 2 years, or maybe to the end of the 2 years, and say, you know what, I've learned enough, and I've decided I completely want to change my path. Try to think about it as stackable. Those core classes are very similar across most of the majors. As you start getting into that sophomore year, especially towards the end of the sophomore year, things will become more specific. but you do have that flexibility, and that's why they're called core classes, because they're going to be very similar across the board. Some majors are going to be very specific, but the advisors will help you and be available to speak with you all. You do have an advisor throughout those 2 years to be able to discuss those classes, if they're working for you and do you need to change anything. But the very quick answer is it's a guaranteed admission. You do not have to apply to that four-year institution. We're taking care of that for you. We're connecting you with that four-year institution. So you literally, at the end of that 2-year equivalency, and some people take a little bit longer. It's okay if you're 2.5 to 3 years. You're gonna go into that 4-year institution, university, as a junior, because you would have completed those first 2 years of the 4-year degree at Reynolds.
With no essays. Yeah.
So
no essays, no tests.
Right. So you guys, like, I completely love, because I like, with all due respect for your processes, and I do want you guys to have conversations. Most of the schools are going to have a transfer advisor that you can actually verify what Ms. Anderson just told you. But it's kind of crazy, right? Like, the hidden gem, because we're not going to make you go through the same process, because you are proving yourself. So kind of like how we were talking about the academic record and being able to show that you're, like, even dual enrollment classes, you're taking those college level classes and you're doing well. So that's your proof. That's your pudding right there, that we're able to say to that 4-year school that that student did well at Reynolds and they're ready to be successful at your 4-year institution.
Awesome. That was great. Okay, so we're going to open it up to questions, and I will run around with this microphone. If I have anyone that has a question. Okay, hold on. Won't make you come to me. I feel like a talk show host now. Oh boy, okay. Hi, what's your name?
Natalie.
This is Natalie.
Okay, so I was just wondering, I know earlier we were talking about college essays, and you said if we had like an independent study, we could put our information on what that was. Could you still put the college essay if you had written one there?
Could you clarify your question?
So I took I took 3 college classes, and on my transcript it's listed as an independent study. Just to like clarify what that was, I'd put it on there, but could I also have a college essay in that portion, or?
Well, and actually I kind of have a related question. Somebody mentioned, like, if you did poorly in a couple classes and you would include that in your essay, would your whole essay be about that, or would you, dedicate a paragraph to?
Absolutely, and I'll answer those questions 2 different ways. So if you have some classes on your transcript that are not specific, they're not descriptive of what you're actually doing, you can always email the admissions office and we will add that to your file so we know that this independent study was actually AP Calculus or dual enrollment calculus in your case maybe. And now when you're asking about how do we find the balance in that space, so James, you just joined the Common Application this year, so this was our first cycle having that platform as an option for our students. And the Common App actually has 3 different written responses built into it. So you have the Common App essay personal statement space, you have the additional information space, and then you have the COVID impact space. And so for students that are applying via the Common App, and we just joined this year, and 96% of our applications came from the Common App, so that seems to be the most popular choice. Use that additional information section. That would probably be the best space for you to give us that context about your academic performance, especially if you're a student that wants to submit the optional personal statement with a more true, typical personal statement. So use those spaces as you see fit. Some of them have different intents. The COVID impact space is to talk about maybe why 10th grade for our seniors this year, 9th grade for our rising seniors was tough with the virtual space and going back and forth, and any household or family challenges that might have come with that. So you can provide that context very specific to COVID, and then additional information for any of that academic context, and then the essay response for your more typical college essay.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Questions? Okay. Over there. Okay, hello. What is your name, sir?
My name's Andy. This is my son Gabriel. I got 2 questions.
Oh, sorry.
First question I got is for the whole group, and it goes for he's a rising. He's going to be a junior next year. When is the typical college visit? When's a good time to go? And is that something official through the school, or you just go on your own? And my second question has to do for Jay Sarge. I did that route 26 years ago. Did Reynolds and went to Tech. Do you still have a minimum, like, you need to pass your courses? I know that, I remember that, but I think I went into engineering years ago and I needed a 3.0. I was just curious if that was still the case.
I'll go first then, okay. Yeah, go Hokies! So, yes. So everything I just said in terms of the requirements do well, but then yes, the four-year institutions, they are going to dictate what GPA they're looking for specifically when it comes to like engineering or specific programs. So yes. And a quick answer to your question about tours. We have tours too. We were just talking about how much fun it is to welcome a group of folks to our campus. And so the way that we ask is, yeah, please don't just show up. I'll stop what I'm doing and show you around if I can, but preferably sign up. So a lot of us are going to have websites that you can go to. So for us, it's reynolds.edu/tours. We have some in-person, we also have virtual, and they're usually about an hour because our campus is not but so large, but we're going to be able to sit down with you. We have a presentation, we'll go through all of our programs, application, etc., and then we'll walk you around. And if you're able to give us advance notice, it always helps to know that if Gabriel, whatever you might be interested in, if it is engineering or let's say it's health professions, whatever it is, we'll try to get you to see the specific department or meet a faculty member in that area, because we know that we know a little bit about everything, but it also helps to speak to someone specific in that area.
So just bouncing off of that, I actually gave a tour today, so my head's a little sunburned, but that's okay. In May is when we open up a lot. We take the calendar, we pretty much clear it. Obviously with graduation coming up for the seniors at the university, we save it for them. However, we do some walk-ins if people are in the office. We also have self-guided tours as well. But to answer the question of when to look at tours for the colleges as a whole, we always recommend, sometime when you're, towards the end of your junior year, but we never discriminate if you are a sophomore, if you're a freshman looking early. Even if you're a senior who's about to graduate high school and still looking, we would love you guys to come visit. And I think the most popular times, it's probably going to be April. I don't know if you guys see that, but April is probably the busiest time of year, especially for Longwood. We have 2 solid weeks every day, 8 to 5, where it's pretty much tours and presentations going on. Just like Reynolds, we have longwood.edu/visit, and you can sign up for a tour then, or you can contact me personally, and I can give you a tour. That has a little personalized touch with it. And we could probably go to lunch. Those kinds of things. When looking at those visits on campus, it's best to give us a heads up for sure, just so we can kind of prepare. Like I said, I gave a tour today for a student who wanted to do digital media on campus and film on campus. So we did about an hour and a half tour of campus, the facilities, and the residence halls as well. So it's a little bit of everything that you're going to see on a regular tour, but just a little bit personalized.
Yeah, and you'll find that nearly every school is going to have a visit page, and they'll guide you through it as to what's available, what you can do. If you're looking to do something sooner rather than later and want to hop into some virtual sessions, I do recommend that. I think it's a great way to narrow the list of schools that you are going to visit in person. So maybe consider that if you have some free time. It's a great thing to do just to get a sense of a school. And I think one thing that I also like about it is it's a lot easier to attend a virtual session for a school in Texas than to visit a school in Texas. So if a school in Texas or whatever is on your list, you might want to do the virtual session first and just, you'll be surprised how much you can learn by doing a virtual tour or a virtual information session. So in terms of visit time, summer is a great time. Just know if you're visiting any of our schools, it will be blazing hot. Okay, so wear your comfortable shoes, wear your dry fit. You don't need to dress up for a tour. Wear a hat. Yeah. bring some water, bring some snacks. Every year we have people pass out in the summer on a tour. Every year, I kid you not. So, and every single time they haven't eaten for that day yet. So eat something. You can tell I'm a mom, right? So all of those things are important as well. I also think going in the fall for you juniors is a great opportunity as well. If you have a teacher work day on a Monday or Friday, that will give you a clearer sense of what it's like, when the school is in session. You'll see the students walking around, so you get a little clearer sense of the school if you go in the fall. So that's another opportunity. Do pay attention to events happening on grounds. If there's a Tech or UVA football game on a Saturday, and you're not going to the game, you might want to pick a different Saturday for a tour.
I would very much echo looking at the school's academic calendar if it's important for you to see a class in session on the tour, if it's important for you to see the hustle and bustle across campus. We welcome anybody of any age to come on a tour at JMU. Registering is helpful just so we can get a head count, but we do have self-guided tour materials available, so if the tour's at capacity, we can give you all of the resources that you need to show yourself around campus. One thing that I'll mention broader than JMU, since it actually doesn't apply to JMU, but some schools do track demonstrated interest. And so that factors into various parts of their processes. And so I would encourage students to always register for the tour in the event that might prove helpful at some point during the process. Again, disclaimer, JMU does not, but I just want to put that out there for consideration.
The only thing that I could add is just make sure you know what you're signing up for. At some schools, when you register for the tour, it includes the information session, the tour, everything. They're going to take care of every step of your visit. For us, you have to register for the tour, you have to register for the information session, you have to register for the individual college sessions. I also encourage you not to just show up in Blacksburg. We're a little off the beaten path, so people make those reservations pretty far in advance. So if you do show up, we're not going to kick you out. We will, but it might end up just being a self-guided tour. But we give you the information to walk around and get the information you need. But everything is online. Visit BT. The calendar is usually out just 3 months in advance. If it's grayed out, it means we're either full or we're not giving tours that day. We only give tours when students are there. If you do come in the summer, and I realize that's the first time a lot of you can because you're very busy, I highly encourage you to come back during the school year. You really need to get the vibe of the campus. You need to see what it's really like when everybody is there.
Our spring break is different than this college spring break too. So first week of April, you could plan your spring break around college tours.
Yeah, that's why we're all so busy in April. That week before and after Easter is usually very crazy at every college in Virginia.
I don't know why I came in this direction. I should have waited to see the hands coming.
Ms. Toombs, if I can add real quick while you're getting over there, very fast. The demonstrated piece, so scholarships, just side note, so it's not gonna factor into the application process, but we do provide a scholarship award, a full ride to one student from each school in Hanover County, and that demonstrated need definitely factors into that conversation. So coming on a campus tour, we're keeping track of all of it.
Thank you for sharing that. Hi, what's your name?
Betsy. Hi, Betsy. I apologize if this was covered earlier. We were late because we're playing sports. Does it matter, do you look more for AP classes on their transcripts over other classes? Even if, say, they want to go into marketing, but would it look better if, she was saying taking, AP calculus instead? AP stats.
So AP stats instead of marketing.
Right. So basically, we want to see the challenge. Is pretty much what we want to see. Whether that be AP, IB, advanced honors, dual enrollment, whatever's going to challenge you that you're going to be successful in, if that makes sense. I think that's where we all kind of agree on. We all value academics, obviously. We're a 4-year, 2-year institutions. We value academics, so we want to see you push yourself, but not too far where you're gonna, fall off the beaten path.
Yes,
She kind of clarified this after we let the question go, but she was saying AP Stats over calculus. So like, does it matter which AP math class she is taking? Is that right?
And I'll answer the initial question, and then I'll pass it along to Steve to answer the revised question. I also want to point out the difference between core and non-core, and we talked about this extensively earlier, but English, foreign language, math, lab science, and social studies are those core areas. Marketing, at least at JMU, would fall outside of those core areas, and so that would not be part of our review. And so even if you're taking, say, a dual enrollment marketing class, that rigor in that class is not going to be part of our review, but if you took that AP statistics, that would very much enhance the competitiveness of your application. But I'll let you talk about calc and stats.
Yeah, course selection is very important for your major at Virginia Tech. In those high math areas, we would much rather see the AP Calculus over the AP Stats. Business is one of those areas, so marketing would fall under that. We don't consider stats a math course, so we want to see that high-level math for those high math areas.
Just a quick clarifying point for UVA. We AP Stats, AP Calc are both considered very strong for us. We don't admit to major. We do admit to college. So if you're applying to the School of Engineering, definitely take the highest level calculus and physics that are offered.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions? Hello, sir. Well, I know. What's your name?
Bob. Can you tell us what the difference is between early action and early decision? Or can you tell me?
Yeah, so early decision is a binding plan. The way to think about it is you have to decide where you want to go when you submit the application. And we'll actually make you sign a contract. We'll make the parent sign a contract and the counselor sign a contract saying, hey, you realize that if you're admitted, you have to withdraw your applications from every other school to which you've applied and matriculate, right? Deposit and matriculate. So early decision is a small pool for any school that offers early decision. And essentially it is that binding agreement that makes the difference. You are committing to it. The benefits of that are that you know early, you are done with the process before the holidays. We notify ED students by December 15th. So if we are your first choice, you can even hold off on maybe some of those other applications with the January 1 deadline, and you don't even have to apply if you get into UVA under the early decision plan. Now, one thing I would ask if I were visiting around colleges is what percentage of your class, if a school does have early decision, what percentage of your class do you admit under early decision? And what is the difference between the admit rates for early decision and your other plans? Some schools are going to admit huge percentage of their class early decision, like half of their class. We're not one of those schools, but I'm just saying, like, there are schools that will do that. And in that instance, I would want to know, because the admit rates will differ very significantly between early decision and the other plans. We at UVA use the same standard across all three decision plans, so there's not a benefit to applying under early decision for us, but there is the benefit of knowing early.
Would they email the admissions counselor to find out the percentage of students, or is that on the website?
Some schools will include it on the website, some won't include it on the website. That would be the thing that I would have my hand up in the information session to ask.
Okay. We probably need to wrap this up. If we have any more burning questions, maybe we can get one in, and then if you guys want to talk to them, if they're willing to stay later, that would be great. But are there any more questions? Okay, how perfect is that? Oh, no. You do? Okay, sorry. Are you sure? I'm just kidding. Oh, no.
Is early action not binding?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Early action's not.
Yeah, early decision's the only one. All right, so thank you guys so much. You have been wonderful. You all have been wonderful also. We appreciate you coming. Oh, let's let Ms. Cole wrap things up. She's the best at that.
Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope you feel better prepared now. But just know that your school counselors, and I'm sure these folks too, are pretty accessible to you. But definitely we are in the school. So please reach out if you have questions. Tonight, some of us will be lingering around for a little while, so feel free to come up if you have other questions tonight. So drive safely home, and thank you for coming.